when the group starts to grow and scale, like, or when people just like start this group and people start to join, I think number one, I've never been part of a good Facebook group. So I don't know what I don't know. That's all. That's what you said. It's loud and messy and disorganized and confusing. Those are the only groups I've ever been a part of because they were just kind of thrown in as an afterthought, as a bonus to some course. I hated it. It was just noise. I would unjoin the group or something like that. And so I really never had a good model to follow. That said, what do you do in the group? Like to facilitate, what do you actually do?
Yeah, I have an answer for that.
Oh, of course you do. All right.
Well, and it's in the world we live in now, right? Like, I know you promote this too, like this consistency of brand, right? So if your Facebook and your Instagram and all whatever, wherever you're hanging out, if it all doesn't feel congruent, then it's going to be confusing, right? Because people don't find you in your totality. Like even when we meet you, you and I are great friends. We don't know everything about each other. Like there's tons of stuff we haven't, uncovered about each other. There's tons of stories we don't know. There's tons of viewpoints we don't know. I'm sure there's something that we would argue about. I just haven't found it yet, but it'll come eventually. The longer we know each other, right? We don't see each other in totality. We see each other in slivers. We see everything in a sliver, depending on how they come into your space. So you have to recognize that what is happening in your group, people don't come into the group and get indoctrinated into your brand on first glance. They get indoctrinated by the first 5 posts they see. And if those posts don't theme out a sense of what your culture is, then they're not going to understand it and they're not going to stay. But if they see congruency, in the way people are asking questions and the kinds of comments are leading, in the amount of comments that people are leading, the amount of engagement that's happening, then it's going to help guide their decisions in how they engage with you and if they stay, right? So you just always recognize, and I say that for everything in life, whether you're meeting a friend or you're on Tinder or you're on, or you're like out meeting, at a coffee thing, meeting me, if you're at a meetup, if you're running a business, like anything, it doesn't matter. People see you in the moment they see you. And it's the same for the community. So try to make sure you understand the boundaries and parameters of what you want that to look like, what you want that to represent, because, and know where people can come in and find you, know how that's going to happen so that you can manage the flow of that experience for people. And I think that's really important. So with that said, how do you actually engage in your own group? So it's different when you're tiny and when you're big. I can do things that people can't do because when 5,000 people are posting in my group every month, I can post more as me because things get lost faster, right? And so there's something I have to do, which I can teach everybody on here about how you keep something engaged, like at the top of the feed, so that it's trending, whether it's your group or somebody else's. Because I absolutely think before you start your own group, I generally recommend you become micro famous in somebody else's. Because doing that means that there's people in my group that have 6-figure businesses off of clients just from our group, right? Not because I gave them clients or anything, but because in my group, in my tiny niche of a space, people know them as somebody that everybody knows. So one of the things I want everybody to do is I want you to visualize that your Facebook group is a city or a town or a village. I don't know, depends where you live and what you call things, right? Okay, so let's pretend it's a city. So first off, you have to decide in your city, are you the local watering hole? Are you the basketball court? Are you like the YMCA? Are you the coffee shop? Are you the salon? What are you, right? Because that helps dictate what kind of conversations you want to happen in your space. So decide where you are, who are you in the city? Then recognize, okay, then where are people coming from in the city? Like if they're coming in, what are they expecting? Like what's their worldview when they're coming in and they're seeing, right? So if you think of yourself that way and you think of yourself as a city and a community, right? Then you start to visualize the side conversations that are happening and the things people are talking about when they're in that space. And that alone will help give you inspiration for the kind of conversations you'd want to have, because the kind of conversations you have with the guys in the basketball court, at the park versus the conversations you have after work at the bar versus the conversations you have when you're, getting your hair done with your stylist or whatever it is. Those are all different kinds of conversations. There's a different sense of culture and experience that you have. And you want to kind of know what space that looks like, right? So you're thinking about that. Then you have to realize as a facilitator, facilitation is about questions, right? And I recommend that you train yourself and everybody in your group to ask questions. So we have a rule where you are not allowed to post motivational quotes and you are not allowed to post long form teaching content. So the person that says, oh my gosh, I just hit 10K this month and this has been an amazing journey and my real lesson was, and we're like, look, that's a freaking blog post. I love that you want to teach and I completely and utterly value your voice. However, nobody asked you. What we call that is push teaching. Stop push teaching, right? You want to create a pull system where people ask you for your advice as opposed to giving it without anybody asking, right? And again, that does not mean that anybody doing that is not valuable, smart, or amazing. It simply means that in this context of a group, we find it doesn't get a lot of engagement. It doesn't do anybody any good, right? Because nobody asked for it. It's not a just-in-time kind of teaching. So we don't load that. We don't load motivational quotes. Like, what are you doing? You're just trying to randomly motivate people for 2 seconds. Like, there's no context behind it. There's no anything like that. So we just don't allow them. And I tell you, if you take those 2 rules and embody them in your group, you will immediately create more engagement, even with 50 people in the group. Because what you do is you take out this random ambiguity that it's just a place to post, that it's just a wall at Starbucks, right? You're not a wall at the Starbucks. You're the seats that people sit in and have real conversations, right? And that's a huge difference in the way people see groups and how they engage. So once you decide that, now we have to say, what are the questions that you ask? So there's multiple kinds of questions. So one of the first questions that you want to think about as a leader, because you have 2 roles in your group. You are both the leader and you're both a business owner, but those are 2 functions, right? I always tell people in a community, you have a community ladder, a set of roles, right? You have to decide which one you are. Are you a host or an expert, right? You're a leader and a business owner, right? You have to decide what you are. And then people within the group are going to raise up and someone's going to be your policer. You're going to have those 5 people that just love to flag the people that break rules, right?
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
diminish them. I literally physically send these people presents. They make my life easier by helping to make sure the space stays the way I want. You're going to have your natural connectors, the people that tag everybody and say, oh my gosh, you have to see this, or oh, this, right? You have the people that are your motivational, the cry on your shoulder people that are always the one that are like, you know what, let's hop on a 15-minute call. Let me talk this out. And they're the people that connect in that emotional way with people. So you've got this, everybody that would naturally raise up in a real city, in a real community, all of those community roles, they're there in your community. And don't diminish the people that want to fill those roles. Naturally see who fills them and then celebrate those people on the back end and let them know like how much you value them. So then when you're looking at the questions you have sets of questions that position you as a leader and create engagement, and then sets of questions that help create buzz and familiarity with what you sell as a business owner. So those are 2 functions. If you're in other groups, then you can use the buzz, and we have a buzz plan that people have got. In our Facebook group, we merge the 2 and kind of marry them in a way. But you can create a buzz plan that you put in other groups, other spaces that really sneakily, but in a great authentic way, ask questions that get people to think about something. It's an awareness campaign, really, if you were like true marketing, right? And we talked about this when you were on my podcast. Like, you've got to get people to be aware that the problem is happening in their like frontal consciousness. And that's what a buzz plan does. Like, if you're launching a podcast, you're going to create a buzz plan that gets podcasting in your topic forefront, so that when your podcast comes out, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for that to come out. Hasn't that been like on the verge of coming out for weeks?
Hey, it's Mike Kim here. Thanks so much for checking out my YouTube channel, where we talk all about building a personal brand business. That means you as a coach, a speaker, a content creator, how to market your content, how to create great content that people love. Make sure you hit that little notification bell, subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a video. So glad you're here.